It's here, everybody. Week one is underway tomorrow with Tampa Bay and Dallas. Can't do much better. Zach, I know you're looking forward to this one somewhat.
One more sleep. One more sleep.
One more sleep, that's right. Um, so, what's your takeaway with that game? Let's just start there with Tampa Bay and Cowboys. I know a little you're a little upset that Zach Martin's on the COVID list because I know you have a lot of Dallas
Well,
players.
yeah, that's a big loss. And besides Dak, Zach Martin might be the one guy the Cowboys don't want to have on the sideline. He didn't even, I don't think he even traveled with the team. So
Yeah.
anyway, who was it? Connor McGovern, Evan, that's starting in
Hmm.
his place. I mean, he's participated in a rodeo or two, shall we say. So I'm not giving up all hope on the left side of that offensive line. I
Sure.
know Lael or well, however you pronounce his name, Collins. I think he's hurting too. I'm not sure. Hopefully he starts, but I'm just excited that Dak is back and that football is back, and I'm still starting basically every wide receiver in that game.
Yeah.
I would honestly probably start six wide receivers um, between the two teams.
Sheesh. Yeah.
So it should be a fun game, man. I would be surprised if the Cowboys won. The Bucks are big home favorites. But yeah, like you said, what a matchup to start the year.
I do think it'll be closer than what some people are thinking.
Mm,
Um, and let's not remember the Bucks kind of struggled out of the gate last year, and that may or may not happen this year. And struggling, I mean, they still won, but it was close.
right.
So,
And I
anyway,
don't I don't like how, and I apologize for the running water in the background. I don't like how relatively easy the Tampa Bay's schedule is coming off their Super Bowl win. They have a
oh, yeah.
very favorable schedule, at least fantasy wise. But
Yeah, it's good if you have them, but it's not. People may not be happy about it just because they're a Super Bowl team and
hmm
they wish they had a harder schedule. But anyway, if you're just joining us, we did this last year where Zach did his stardom situm. We do five players each, and we try and do it every week. You can follow us on Spotify if you're not on YouTube here, um, or you can just watch us on YouTube and watch all the fancy graphics and see our beautiful faces. So we will
not
get
fun.
started, Zach. With let's start with your situms this week, and this guy was actually in our last video. This is Odell Beckham Jr. at Kansas City. He was in our last video as a sleeper, I believe it was, or a undervalued player. Why are you sitting him at Kansas
Oh,
City this week?
yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, yeah, on the year, I'm a fan of Odell, and this is my of the two I sent you. I don't feel that great about Beckham and Big Ben. Spoiler, but the Chiefs Browns should be pretty high scoring, so this one may come back to haunt me. But the Chiefs were like, I want to say they were like top three to top five in fantasy points allowed to receivers. I might be lying out of my teeth, but they were very good against wide receivers last year. They were horrible against tight ends.
Hmm.
So this might be more of an Austin Hooper game. Hooper to me is kind of a sleeper this week, but the Chiefs are actually low key really good defending wide receivers. Um, so I mean, I would still start Brown. I think I barely have him outside wide receiver two territory. So it's not by any means that I would bench these guys, but I probably have him below consensus. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, the consensus, I had it here, was 26 when I made the graphic. May have
Yeah,
changed. Um,
I'll probably have him closer to 30 when I update things, but
he's at
so
20,
yeah,
25 currently, half PPR.
okay. So yeah, I mean he's definitely a flex play, especially I would expect the Browns to have to pass in order to keep up with the Chiefs on the road in this one.
Hmm.
I think this is one of the higher implied totals, but so yeah, start Beckham as a flex, but I mean he could struggle.
Don't expect much. Yeah. So let's not also forget that this is these are home. What am I trying to say, Zach? The home
Um,
teams are going to have quite the advantage,
oh,
especially this week
with fans back.
because yeah, because
Hmm.
you're going to have full stadiums in most places, and teams are not used to that noise. They've been without it for a whole year.
Hmm.
So I expect home teams to have a greater advantage than they normally would have in previous years. So something to think about before starting your lineup. Let's go on to number two. This is Allen Robinson at the Rams. Of course, you're going to sit him. Currently wide receiver 16. Zach, how do you feel about that?
That I'll probably have him. It's just so weird. He could be like a top 10 receiver on the season, but it's all about the matchup. He'll be in between 15 and 20 among wide receivers for me. It's all
Okay.
about the Jalen Ramsey shadow. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said the Chiefs were good against the pass last year. The Rams were the best fantasy defense against the pass last year. They allowed easily the fewest passing yards, just over 2,000. Um, seven touchdowns, seven touchdowns allowed to wide receivers in 16 games.
Jeez.
That's just absurd.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, by the way, the Chiefs were third fewest fantasy points allowed per game to receivers.
that's
So,
insane.
I mean, Andy Dalton is not going to have fun, man. It is not going to be fun for him. The Rams defense, they might be my top defense this week. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. So,
Go for it, dude. Go for it.
um, yeah, this is all about. I would assume Ramsey would shadow A Rob. If not,
Yeah.
he'll be on Mooney some. But yeah, so he'll be in between 15 to 20, closer to 20. So still wide receiver too. You're still starting him, but it's just a scenario where you're starting him and hoping for the best.
Right.
He's still great at uh, catching contested balls, but the Rams are just so good against the pass. Yeah.
Yeah. And let me just explain this to our listeners before we continue. We do go by half PPR. That's mainly what Zach. That's basically what you do weekly, right, Zach?
Yep.
And then when I say ECR, this is not season. This is weekly
Weekly.
based.
Yep.
So unlike our previous video that had season based. So just going forward. All right, Ben or be wary of that Rams defense this season once again. Moving on to number three. This is Josh Jacobs against the stingy Baltimore run defense. Currently at running back 22. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. I'm low. And these are Jacobs. I mean, Kenyon Drake is there. I'm not a big Jacobs fan anyway. And like you said, in this matchup, the Ravens allowed the fewest. They were tied with the Chiefs for the fewest rushing touchdowns allowed to running backs last year. And Ravens, again, they're big favorites, like the Chiefs. I don't envision um, Las Vegas running the ball much, and if they do, I don't see them doing it well. To me, this game script is more of it favors Kenyon Drake more, where
Hmm.
they're going to have to pass early and often. So this might be like a 15 carry for 60-yard kind of game for Jacobs with a couple catches mixed in. Um,
Okay.
that's not what you're looking for. Again, this is another. I mean, you could probably in smaller leagues with more shallow rosters, you could probably get away with benching Jacobs. But I mean, in 12-team leagues, you probably have to start him. Again, it's just a case of bracing yourself and lowering expectations because I don't think it's going to be pretty for Jacobs against
Hmm.
Baltimore.
So most of these guys so far you have technically as a sit 'em, but you're more of a don't expect much instead of a
Yeah, it's
sit
more
'em.
of a dislike and probably will have lower than consensus.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the game script, you make a good point. I think it more favors Drake, especially if the Ravens can pull away, and we know they have one of the better or harder places to play in Baltimore for opponents. So moving on to player, I believe we are at 4, and that is David Montgomery at the Rams again. Once again, stay away from that Rams defense currently at
Yeah.
RB20.
R-
Um,
By the
yeah.
way, I think I misspoke. That game is actually in Vegas in that pretty new stadium. But
Oh, okay.
either way, it's not
Yeah.
a pretty situation for Jacobs.
Yeah.
But they do have a really nice stadium, by the way. That's really the only thing I like about the Raiders is their new stadium.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I'm just like you've got to start Montgomery and Robinson. Those are the two. Those are the only two Bears you're probably going to start on a weekly basis. It's a sinking feeling when you have those studs that you drafted so early and they're going into brutal matchups. Like this is probably the worst matchup for the Bears all season.
Hmm.
So it sucks. You just kind of have to deal with it. I mean, for those who've played fantasy for a while, you know how that is. You just kind of have to start them and deal with the tough matchup and hope that volume will get you what you need. So this is another one of those cases where Montgomery could see like 20 total touches, but they may be for fewer than 100 yards. But again, you're still starting him. I'm just going to be lower on him. He's still barely in RB2 territory for me, but I would go so far as to start someone like Chase Edmonds over him, maybe, and James
Wow.
Robinson. So he'll be in low end RB2 or high end RB3 flex area for me against the Rams.
Okay. Yeah, those I feel bad for Bears fans because
Hmm.
I don't know. I just the Dalton thing didn't work out in Dallas, um, and now he's coming to Chicago, and you know how my
Right.
feelings about how Fields will fare.
They're already
Uh,
pounding the table for Fields, and now
yeah,
Dalton has to face
and
like the best defense.
if that doesn't work out, then you know.
Yeah.
But I think they are making the wise choice in throwing Dalton to the Wolves, if you will, in this game, and then maybe get Fields in an easier matchup if Dalton is struggling. So,
Hmm.
anyway, moving on, we are now in your stardom, and I'm gonna start with this lame one you did. Not to call it lame, but
What?
just kind of an easy one, if you will, Zach. The Arizona.
Oh,
Or
right.
I'm sorry. We skipped Big Ben, dude. Um,
Oh, okay, yeah.
he popped up on my graphics. That's why I have graphics. Keep me in line. He's playing at Buffalo, and so uh, currently quarterback 22, which is quite low for him
Hmm.
usually. What's your
Hmm.
take here?
Yeah, that's probably around where I'll have him. I mean, if you drafted Big Ben, you're probably not starting him this week anyway, since there aren't any bye weeks. Ben, this season
Yeah,
and the last couple, he's actually been underrated fantasy wise, but he's definitely a backup fantasy quarterback, and that's no different here. I mean, in Buffalo, in that kind of environment, gosh, Ben has some awesome weapons, but I mean, you didn't draft him to start him, and the Bills. Ivan, I know you're a Deontay Johnson guy. I am too, but I hope Tre'Davious White doesn't shadow him, man.
well,
I don't.
I actually like his game script a little bit more than you because I think they're gonna fall
Yeah.
behind. I mean, it should be relatively close, but I think they're gonna fall behind, and then Deontay's their target share guy, but
Hmm.
I'm not too worried about it, especially late in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I would for sure probably start all. It's weird because I would start the receivers for Pitt, but Ben is a fantasy backup. There's
Yeah.
just no getting around it.
All right. Well, yeah, that's an easy sit 'em this week, unless you're really pressed already for a quarterback. But let's
Yeah.
move on now to your stardom, Zach. And what I was mentioning was you have the entire Tennessee and Arizona game. Do you want to explain this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the Bucks Browns game where both teams are really they're fast paced, and the Cardinals Titans might be it's probably the fastest paced game of Week 1. I fully expect a barn burner. We could see up to like 60 total points. So I mean, I'm starting Murray, Hopkins, Edmonds. Edmonds is underrated this week and this year. I don't know about Connor, maybe as a flex. Even, I mean, I kind of want to wait and see what they do with Rondale for a
Hmm.
week. But gosh,
I knew you were going to say that.
no, did you? He could have a good game, man. And then on the other side, Tannehill. I mean, you're starting Tannehill, Brown, and Jones and Henry basically every week.
Hmm.
But gosh, the Arizona cornerbacks are just horrible
Awful. Yep.
right now. So Brown and Jones could have a field day, especially Brown. Brown's probably a top 5 receiver for me this week. So, I mean, from a fantasy standpoint and DFS standpoint, this might be the game I'm looking forward to the most
Yeah.
this week, just because of all the skill players and all the points that are going to be scored.
Where do you? Let's see. I'm curious about Julio this week, just because it's his first game with a new team.
Hmm.
I was gonna say, um, for the most part, Tennessee has kept together pretty well the past 2 years. I mean, they have all their key guys coming back, mainly on offense. I'm thinking. I know they lost a tackle during the offseason. I can't remember who, but for the most part, they're right there, and that's what we were worried about last season with the Broncos playing the Titans. We had a bunch of rookies, and they did not. They had a bunch of vets, but um, I expect big things from that offense once again, and I know you do as well.
Hmm.
And they should put up some buku points in fantasy this week.
Buku.
Let's move on to an actual player now. Uh, this is this is T Higgins against Minnesota at or in Cincinnati. Currently wide receiver 24. Why do you have him in here instead of Boyd? I'm curious.
Dude, you know I have a thing for T. Higgins, right?
I do.
I've been kind of hyping the T. Higgins train all off season. He had an awesome rookie year. And I mean, like you alluded to, we're kind of going to have to pick and choose who we want to start among the Bengals receiving core this year between Higgins, Boyd, and Chase. I'm probably starting Higgins every week.
Hmm.
Boyd and Chase are more flex plays, and that's definitely the case this week. But the Vikings were one of the worst defenses against wide receivers last year. They allowed 24 touchdowns, which was second most to
Jeez.
the position. So I'm banking on a Higgins touchdown, at least one Higgins touchdown.
Hmm.
And I mean, this is an offense that could start slow out of the gate with Burrow coming off the long break with the injury, um, and still kind of a shaky offensive line. It's not as bad as it used to be, but still kind of shaky. But this is the matchup you want for the Bengals to start in against the Vikings. So
Yep.
hopefully Burrow and Higgins and them can get going fast.
Hopefully it gives Burrow some confidence coming back from the knee injury too. Hopefully he can get a good game in and then get that confidence for the rest of the season. But
Right.
I don't know, man. I kind of have to disagree with you. I think Boyd is going to be the comfort blanket coming out of the gate. I mean, Higgins will get his. Like you said, I think he's more of a red zone threat, and I do expect touchdowns. But as far as targets go, I think that will lie with Boyd until Chase gets up to speed, and then that could potentially change. So,
That's fine.
um,
I agree with that. I mean, I would start Boyd too. I just think Higgins will have more fantasy points.
yeah. Yeah, especially with the red zone targets and whatnot. All
Hmm.
right, let's move on to another player that was in our last video. That's James Robinson at Houston. Love this one, man. Love this one. I know
Mm,
you're licking your chops at this.
mm. I'm so tempted to rank James as an RB1 this week. Um, he probably won't make it there, but he'll be in the high end RB2 conversation. The Texans were the worst defense fantasy wise against running backs last year,
Hmm.
if you recall.
Hmm.
Most yards allowed, most rushing touchdowns. They gave up a bunch of catches to the position. ETN is gone. And you know what, Evan? It's going to make me mad if Urban Meyer is like, you know what? Let's give Carlos Hyde like 15 touches. I mean, why not? So
Oh, don't even say it.
I won't be surprised if Meyer pulls that stone off. But J Rob, I mean, he should get 20 touches.
Yeah.
And this is his best matchup of the year. So, like I said, easy RB2 all day long.
Yeah, you gotta love. You just don't know what they're gonna look like either. It's like it could be like the floor barn burner. I don't know what you would call it for these two teams. Like neither of them have great defenses, and but neither of them have great offenses. You just don't know which one you're gonna get right out of the gate. So when in doubt,
Right.
start the running back because they're they may just
Yeah.
run the ball a lot. So yeah, I like that one. Moving on to your fourth one, I think. Yeah, Joe Mixon
Joey?
against
Yep.
Minnesota. Another Cincy player. Running back 8 ECR. I think you would agree with that, if not a little bit higher.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about your boy.
Yeah, definitely top 10. I might end up ranking Mixon ahead of Elliott, Evan, if I'm being honest with you. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, the Vikings, bottom five fantasy defense against the position. Um, they, they've sucked for a while on defense. It seems like, at least against the run. Well, in the past.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is actually a sneaky. This Vikings Bengals game, Evan,
Mm-hmm.
is a sneaky DFS stack.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I'm gonna make at least one lineup with a stack like this. Speaking of which, I should have included Kirk Cousins on here because he could.
Yeah.
I mean, if Dalvin Cook doesn't do it all himself, he could go off this game.
He's
I'm gonna
he's
have him
underrated in general.
in general. Yeah, yep. He could be a stud when he needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of those games where uh, people will be like, "Whoa, what? Seriously?" After the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this could they could score as many points. Well, I won't say as Cardinals Titans, but this could be a top five scoring game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe. Joe's one of a few featured backs left in the NFL. I would be surprised if he didn't reach 100 total yards and score at least once in this game. Like I said, he might. He'll be between RB5 and RB10 for me when all is said and done.
So
So,
you mentioned Zeke earlier. His ECR right now, Zach, is 13 overall for running backs.
is it
Do you think
really?
that's too low?
I'd have to give it a closer look. Um, just off the top, I really don't think that's too low. I mean, the Bucks are one of the best run defenses anyway, and then to be missing Zach Martin is just not a recipe for
Yep.
success. Again, this kind of is in the same grain with Montgomery. You start your volume guys, he'll still get the touches, but yeah, the matchup is horrible, and they're missing their best offensive line. Like every time I feel like every week I checked last week, it was insane how stingy the Bucks were against the run.
Mm,
They were the only rush defense to allow fewer than 1,000 rushing yards
yeah,
last year.
it could be bad, dude. Like again, the
Hmm.
home field advantage thing, and you just won a Super Bowl for the first time in 20 years.
Uh,
Um, Fans are going to be crazy. You got everybody back on defense,
uh,
so who's to say, it might
yeah,
be a
man,
long night, and Dak might throw 50 times, which I know they're trying to avoid.
that would be awesome.
So,
That would be awesome. But what could save Zeke is being involved in the passing game. I
yeah,
can absolutely picture Dak dumping it off to him like 5 or 6
yeah,
times. So
yep, that would be his saving grace, I guess you could say. All right, your last one. You're gonna have to explain this one to me a little bit. I mean, I get the matchup and all that. Jalen Hurts at Atlanta, currently quarterback 8. What do you like about this one?
Yeah, man. Hurts, I mean, to me, it seems like Hurts has kind of flown under the radar in the fantasy realm. And by the way, Casey, if you're listening, or if yeah, he's trying to get Hurts from me, man, in our league that we drafted yesterday.
Okay,
He's been trying like crazy to get Hurts from me when he
interesting.
was originally giving me crap about it, if you
I
recall.
do recall that.
But to me, the thing about Hurts is just his running ability and what he adds to his fantasy value on the ground.
Okay.
And I mean, you think about it last year, uh, he was a rookie and he had like Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham uh, and Jalen Reagor as his starting receivers. I mean, give the guy a break. We got to give him another chance. Gardner Minshew, I know they just traded for Gardner Minshew, but he's clearly the backup, and Joe Flacco is no threat. Um, he survived because it was rumored for a while that the Eagles could trade for Deshaun Watson. He survived that, so he's their guy. That's pretty clear now. And this is another one of those games that could be sneaky high scoring. And like I said, Hurts adds a lot of value on the ground. So yeah, he's definitely a top 10 QB for me this week.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I know that Atlanta sucked on their secondary, still sucks.
Oh, just horrible.
Um,
They gave up the most passing yards last year.
so I mean, I would start him. He scares me a little bit. He's a little bit like Tua for me. I just don't know how he's gonna
He
look.
is an inconsistent passer. I'll give you that, but he can make up for that on the
Yeah.
ground.
All right. All right, dude. Thanks for doing that, and that's all for Storm Sim. Let's move on to. We got a new game this year, you guys. It's called Would You Rather. Let me pop up. Let me pop that graphic up. Would you rather? This is where I ask Zach, would you rather start this guy or this guy? And usually I'm going to say, I'll try and say a name he just mentioned, and then say a guy who might, be better, have a better matchup, or
Okay.
but is below that guy you mentioned.
hmm
So I'll start off with A Rob here, Zach, at wide receiver 16. Um, and then down here, I will say, would you rather start Allen Robinson at the Rams at 16 or Cooper Kupp currently at 19 versus
Ooh.
Chicago, who
Oh,
is
oh,
a
oh.
really bad matchup for wide receivers?
Um, right when you said that, I was leaning Cup. Um, and I actually tweeted yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, that I would start T Higgins over A Rob. I'm actually gonna go with Cup on this, Evan.
Okay.
hmm
All right. So where would you have him since A Rob is 16? Because you got 14, 15 here, Chris Godwin, CD Lamb.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I need to update my rankings. Cup Cup is going to be one or two spots ahead of A Rob for me. He'll be right behind like DJ Moore and Chris Godwin in that area. So
Okay.
maybe number 17 around there. A Rob a little lower.
All right. So you take the lower guy in round one. We'll do one more round here. Maybe 3 rounds. Let's do 3 rounds because that sounds better. And by the way, while I'm searching for your next test, tell them
hmm
where they can find your rankings if they want to find your rankings.
Yeah, you can either find them through fantasypros.com or gridironexperts.com. I usually mainly only publish half PPR,
Okay.
which is the universal
Yeah.
scoring now. So
Yeah, it's really becoming more popular. Um, except in a couple leagues we're in for some reason, no one wanted to.
I'm still in a standard scoring league, man.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Dang. All right, I got this next one, dude. This is tough. Okay. Both
I'm
of these
scared.
guys, I think I know who you're gonna say here. Um, let's go. Would you rather start David Montgomery at 20 or DeAndre Swift at 22? Swift, obviously at home against San Fran, but a terrible matchup there.
Yeah, I think I'm going Swift. I think I'm going
Really?
Swift.
That is not
Uh-huh.
what I thought you were going to say. Just
Um,
because of the pass catching?
oh yeah, that's gonna be his saving grace. Um, gosh, the coming off the injury though scares me. But Dane Campbell, he said he's gonna play, so it sounds like Swift health wise is fine. And in that case, I would bank on a negative game script going Swift's way with lots of Hawkinson and Swift and Tyrell Williams involved in the passing game.
Okay.
So, I mean, and Swift is absolutely capable of breaking off a big run or two. So, I mean, to me, I know I'm going to have Swift ranked ahead of Monty, but gosh, both of those, they might have the two worst matchups of any running backs this week. So, I don't blame you for asking.
Okay. I was going to go tight end here, but I'm just not. You didn't do one, so let me go to quarterback. Um,
Okay.
okay, dude. Let's just do this for size. All right, let's do Sam Darnold against the Jets. Tempting,
Whoa.
tempting, tempting. He's currently at 19, or Big Ben at 21 at Buffalo.
How about neither?
Gotta pick one, man.
Uh, it's Darnold. It's Darnold for me.
Okay, that's what I would go with.
Darnold. I mean, like Cousins, that's another really good, cheap DFS play, and it's a big revenge game against the Jets
Yeah,
for Darnold. Um, I mean, he could he could do 250 and two touchdowns. I mean, so could Big Ben, but
right.
those are all tough, dude. Why do you have to make them so tough
Well,
like
I
that?
had to try, man. Let me just ask you this, because I don't know how bad you don't like Big Ben. This will be my last one. Zach Wilson over Big Ben this week?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that's what I thought. There's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of buzz.
Dude, I love Zach Wilson. I know you do too, but he could have a rude awakening against the Panthers
He
this week.
could. He could. Although they're not that stingy of a defense, but um,
Right.
they could confuse him a bit. All right. Well, that'll do it for week one of our Start 'em Sit 'em. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Zach, for getting underway. It's exciting. It feels like it took longer to
So
get
stoked.
here this year, even though we had COVID last year. It just seems
Yeah.
like it took a
You know
while.
I agree with that. Hmm.
So,
Finally.
yeah, we will try and do this every week, and hopefully, you guys start out with a W in your games and get some good DFS lineups from this video. You can follow us at Babbling Bronco. You can follow Zach at Zach Grubel, and again, you can find his rankings on Gridiron Expert or Fantasy Pros if you want to. But until next time, we will babble at